According to UNESCO, which protects world heritage, there are over 3 million shipwrecks that have sunk into the sea so far. Among them, about 3,000 are so-called treasure ships that are worth a huge salvage fee. Among these, there are about 100 wrecked ships that not only professional treasure hunters but also some mafias are targeting. It is estimated that the treasures on board these ships are worth over $50 million each. If you convert the value of all treasure ships into money, a whopping $60 billion or 80 trillion worth of treasure is sleeping in the deep sea. Treasure ship salvage is such a secret business that many things are kept confidential. However, according to industry speculation, the most expensive treasure ship salvaged so far is the Nuestra Señora de Atocha. This Spanish ship, which sank in 1622, was filled with treasure worth $400 million, including over 40 tons of gold, emeralds, and over 100,000 coins. But there is a treasure ship that cannot be compared to this ship. It is the San Jose, known by many grand names including Legend of the Treasure Ship, Mother of all Shipwrecks, and Holy Grail of Shipwrecks. In 1708, it was hit by a British fleet and sank off the coast of Colombia. It is believed to be filled with 200 tons of pure gold coins, silver, and emeralds. The maximum estimated value is $17 billion, which is more than 40 times that of Atocha. Recently, the Colombian government's president personally declared that the treasure, along with the salvage of San Jose, was Colombian because the ship was in Colombia's territorial waters. Then, Spain got angry and said that since San Jose was their country's ship, the treasure naturally belonged to Spain. Then, the United States also came forward, claiming that the American company that discovered the location of the ship has half ownership as per the original contract. Who should own the $20 billion treasure of San Jose? For a long time, treasures were owned by those who found them. Like in the movie Indiana Jones, an expedition led by an archaeologist knowledgeable about artifacts goes on all kinds of adventures with a poorly drawn map showing treasures. And in the end, all the great treasures are theirs. But those days are over. This was only possible when Arab and Asian countries were not properly established or when Europe was a colony. As treasure became difficult to retrieve even after being found, treasure hunters turned their gaze to the sea. If you could just pull it out, the bottom of the water would be full of gold and silver treasures that were equivalent to cash instead of troublesome cultural assets. At the same time, various technologies needed to salvage underwater treasures were also improving day by day. Now, archaeologists like Indiana Jones are useless in treasure hunting. They roughly estimated the location of the treasure-laden shipwreck using sonar detectors along the old sea route, confirmed its existence with diving equipment and underwater cameras, and then used underwater robots and remote-controlled vehicles to hit the jackpot relatively easily. Initially, the biggest concern was the distribution share of those who discovered and salvaged the treasure. However, as jackpots began to emerge everywhere, related countries are now stepping forward and claiming ownership, as in the case of Colombia, Spain, and the United States of San Jose. Therefore, the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea and the UNESCO Convention on the Protection of Underwater Cultural Heritage were established to prevent conflicts. But this is very complicated, difficult, and boring. The location of the sinking varies depending on whether it is territorial waters, exclusive economic zone, or high seas, depending on the type of warship and trade ship, and also depending on how long it has been in the water. In addition, international agreements are often useless as there are many countries that have not joined the agreement. So the bottom line is that the parties involved should discuss it well before making a decision. However, there are a few large-scale agreements that most people respect regarding the distribution of treasure. Even if you know this much, you can understand the nature of the International Convention on Treasure. This international convention is largely related to the rights of the parties subject to the convention, which are divided into three categories. First of all, it is the individual or company that discovered and salvaged the treasure. Unlike the past, when the largest share went to these people, now with increasing disputes, treasures tend to belong to the country rather than individuals. Each country is different, but Colombia, which claims ownership of San Jose, is willing to give only 5% commission to the company that found the ship. However, depending on the negotiation results, the share of the salvage company could be enormous. According to the UN Law of the Sea, warships are subject to sovereign immunity. In other words, warships are considered as the territory of the owning country and are not subject to the interference of other countries. Therefore, warships retain their rights regardless of how long they have been submerged. That's why Spain is asserting its rights over San Jose. They argue that San Jose, armed with cannons, falls under the category of sovereign immunity. However, in the past, many trade ships also had cannons, making it difficult to distinguish real warships from trade ships, especially for ships that have been underwater for hundreds of years. Based on this point, Colombia refuses to recognize Spain's rights. The third party involved is the country where the treasure ship is actually located. Both the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea and the UNESCO Convention clearly state that the coastal country has rights over underwater cultural heritage located within 24 nautical miles, 44 kilometers, of its coast. This means that without the permission of the country where the ship is located, even the owning country does not have the right to salvage it. Colombia's assertiveness regarding San Jose is based on this convention. However, no convention specifies a fixed distribution ratio. Ultimately, it depends on negotiations among the parties involved. If a treasure ship is discovered by a national in their own territorial waters, different rules apply. In Korea, cultural assets of a certain level are typically national property, whereas in the United States, the share of the individual who found the treasure is known to be greater than that of the state. But why is the top-ranked treasure ship, both historically and prospectively, always a Spanish ship? Recently discovered, treasure ships are often found in the Caribbean. The Caribbean Sea in the 17th and 18th centuries was a pirate's paradise. Pirates mainly targeted ships returning to Europe laden with treasures from Latin America. If you think of the movie Pirates of the Caribbean, which was very popular in Korea, you'll get the idea. The money earned by this movie series, totaling 6 trillion won, is much more than what many pirates could plunder from a treasure ship. At that time, Latin America was under Spanish control, so it's natural that they had an overwhelming number of treasure ships. European latecomers like Britain and France were envious of Spain's success. However, Spain's dominance in Latin America was so firm that there was no room for them to intervene. So, these countries shared loot with pirates authorized by their governments. Although Spain sent its invincible fleet to eradicate pirates, there were too many hiding places in the Caribbean with numerous islands. Additionally, many sandy shores made it difficult for large Spanish ships to navigate, making the Caribbean perfect for pirate hideouts. Spain, which had lost countless treasure ships to pirates, recently compiled a list of its shipwrecks. In 2019, the Spanish Ministry of Culture created a list of over 600 shipwrecks claimed by Spain. Whenever there's news about treasure ship salvage, Spain diligently presents this list to assert its claims. But doesn't something seem strange? Where did the treasure originally come from? None of the international conventions grant rights to the countries from which the treasure was plundered. The gold and silver on San Jose mostly came from Bolivia and Peru. As the salvage of San Jose approaches, these countries are also claiming ownership. However, no one pays attention to their voices.
The countries owning the treasure ships or capable of salvaging them are all powerful nations and former empires. Although San Jose is not an exception, There are many countries with sunken treasure ships in their territorial waters. In this regard, international conventions on underwater cultural heritage are clearly unfair to victim countries, with aggressor countries fighting over the stolen treasure as if it were theirs. This shows that imperialism is not yet over.